Hello again. Here's the rest of this. Well, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story of Gilgamesh, but first of all, let me tell you how that should fit in your notes. I'm sorry about the sound. I know the sound of my voice is not in sync with the video. I'll work on it. This is kind of a homemade job here, so you've got that. You'll have to just put up with it, I guess, for now. I hope in your notes, 18.2 or so, you've got the classical period from the first writing up till about 450 AD, the collapse of the Roman Empire. I'm going to go people by people by people, and I'm starting with the Sumerians. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the world's oldest known story. You should already have this stuff written in your notes with various characters. All right, anyway, here's the rest of the story. I think I can fit it in 10 minutes. Gilgamesh has been waiting. He sent out messengers all over the world to find out, is there anybody who's escaped death? His best friend, Enkidu, has died, and now he's obsessed with the idea that maybe he will die someday too. Well, word comes back gradually, and always it's the same. No, everybody has to die someday. There is nobody who has escaped death. Well, he's saddened by this, but eventually word comes back that there is word of a guy named Utnapishtim who apparently has escaped death. And Gilgamesh decides that, well, no matter what it takes, he's going to find him, and he's going to find out how is it that he managed to escape death. So he sets off on a journey to see if he can find Utnapishtim. And to do this, he has to go, first of all, he has to go until he reaches a range of mountains. And when he's confronted with a range of mountains, he doesn't know how he's going to go through them. And what's worse is that there in the valleys and the mountains are scorpion men that stop him at first. And how's he going to get past the scorpion men? Well, the scorpion men recognize in Gilgamesh something godlike. He is not like a normal human. And surprisingly, the scorpion men help him, and they guide him through the mountains. He goes through the mountains and eventually gets on the far side. And there, he's confronted by a vast sea, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. So he goes in to consult an interesting character called the Eternal Barmaid, and she gives him advice. She tells him that along those shores there is a ferryman who plies the shores, and periodically he goes out to Utnapishtim's island, and maybe he could talk to him. In fact, the ferryman is there at the present time. So Gilgamesh thanks her and finds the ferryman and makes the deal. So the ferryman will, yes, he'll take him out to Utnapishtim's island. So the ferryman takes him there. Well, when he gets there, immediately Utnapishtim says, "What are you doing here? You've got to leave. You can't come here. Nobody's allowed to come here. You must leave." But Gilgamesh says, "No, please tell me, is it true that you've got eternal life?" And Utnapishtim says, "Yes, that's true, I do. But I'm the only one. Now you must leave." Well, Utnapishtim says, but can't you at least tell me how it is that you've got eternal life? And Utnapishtim says, well, all right, here, I'll tell you. And he tells him a story about how there was an earlier time when humans were making too much noise, and the gods got annoyed at it. They didn't like hearing all that noise. And so they decided they would just get rid of all the humans. But Utnapishtim, they decided, was the only one that was worth keeping. So they would keep Utnapishtim and his family. But all the rest of them, they would get rid of them. And how would they get rid of them? They'd bring a flood, and they'd drown them all out. And this happened. Although they warned Utnapishtim, and they told him he should prepare himself by building a raft, which he did. And then the waters came, and for a certain period of time, they were there and killed everybody. And then Utnapishtim let birds go out to find out was there dry land. And eventually the birds came back, and there was dry land. And Utnapishtim survived. Now, of course, you probably recognize this as a story. I'll tell you more about why you recognize that later on. But anyway, as a result of his being the only human worth keeping, Utnapishtim had been granted eternal life. He would never die. But so he told Utnapishtim he told Gilgamesh that story and said, "Now you've got to leave." Well, Utnapishtim and Gilgamesh said, "But can't somebody else have that?" And Utnapishtim said, "No, there's nobody else that can have eternal life. I'm the only one. You need to go." Well, Gilgamesh begged him, "Please, you're so old, you're so wise, you should know some way." And Utnapishtim said, "Well, I'll tell you what, if you can conquer sleep and death seem to be related. If you can conquer sleep, then you can conquer death. So you stay awake for 7 days and 7 nights, and you will have conquered sleep, and that will be like conquering death. Do that." Well, Gilgamesh said, "Okay, I'll do that," and immediately fell asleep. He was exhausted from his journey, and he slept and he slept and he slept. And I think Utnapishtim's wife baked a loaf of bread every day to prove to him how many days he'd slept. Eventually Utnapishtim woke him up and said, "You've got to go, you failed the test, you must leave." Well, Gilgamesh was distraught. He said, "Isn't there some other way?" And Utnapishtim said, No, there's no other way. This I can give you though. If you can get a plant that grows on the bottom of the sea, if you can manage to get that plant and eat it, that plant will give you eternal youth, which is not the same as eternal life. But you can have eternal youth. Well, Gilgamesh figured, "I'll go for that." And on his way back, he tied a stone to his foot, jumped out of the boat, went to the bottom of the sea, got the plant, cut it off, brought it back, cut the rope, came back up to the surface, came back, he had it, and he went to the shore. Now when he got to the shore, he got out of the boat, and incidentally the boatman could never again go back to Utnapishtim's island. He got to the shore and he put it down, and he was covered with salt water, and there was a spring of clear water there, so he dove into the clear water and rinsed himself off, and while he was cleaning himself, a snake came along, and the snake gobbled up that plant, and it was gone. That's why a snake is able to shed its skin and become just as if it were brand new again. There went his last chance. Well, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk. He has lost his chance for eternal life. He's lost his chance for eternal youth. He's a wiser man now. He's an older man. And he goes back to the building of the walls of the city. And my version of this epic tells it that Utnapishtim now realizes that yes, he, like all men, must die. But the thing to do is, while you're alive, do such amazing things that people will never forget you. And that way, in a sense, you can live on. And in a sense, Gilgamesh has achieved that, because here I am, 5,000 years later, still telling the story of Gilgamesh.